Hey guys, I'm Isaac and welcome back to Isaac Reviews 2025. Modern horror movies for the large part don't tend to be all that good, and one of the main contributors in that regard would be Blumhouse. Their movies tend to range from just okay to absolute garbage, so from the jump I wasn't entirely sold on their newest film, Wolfman. All I really knew was that it's a remake of a horror film from the 1940s, and its director previously directed The Invisible Man, which I haven't seen, but I heard it was good. Regardless, it was released over MLK weekend, and I figured I might as well check it out to get another video in. And while it's definitely not as bad as some of Blumhouse's other movies, it still wasn't very good. It centers around Blake, a San Francisco husband and father who inherits his remote childhood home in rural Oregon after his father vanishes and is presumed dead. With his marriage to his high-powered wife Charlotte fraying, Blake persuades Charlotte to take a break from the city and visit the property with their young daughter Ginger. But as the family approaches the farmhouse in the dead of night, they're attacked by an unseen animal and in a desperate escape barricade themselves inside the home as the creature prowls the perimeter. As the night stretches on, however, Blake begins to behave strangely, transforming into something unrecognizable, and Charlotte is forced to decide whether the terror within their house is more lethal than the danger without. I'll admit that on its own, the idea of slowly losing your self-identity and becoming a threat to your family despite having sworn to protect them is interesting. I also thought the actors did a great job, especially Christopher Abbott and Julia Garner. But when we get to the writing, that's where Wolfman starts to fall apart. Like a lot of other modern horror films, it spends a decent amount of its time focusing on stuff that's not very important to the story just so it can cross the 100-minute mark. And on that note, the pacing feels a bit rushed where events aren't given enough time to be registered before something else happens, especially the ending, which felt really abrupt. But what about the horror elements of this movie? Is it at least effectively scary? I don't know. Like, there's some decent body horror and the makeup effects look okay, but the kills aren't all that memorable and it can sometimes rely a bit too much on loud noises and jump scares as a substitute for genuine scares. I wish it could have been better as the materials were there for a solid horror flick, but overall Wolfman is a very average experience. Even with some good performances, the scares are largely underwhelming, there's a lot of filler, and the pacing is a mess. Unless you're really desperate for something to watch before Dogman comes out, you'll probably be fine waiting for it to come out on streaming. And knowing Universal, they'll probably end up doing that after like 2 weeks. 5 out of 10, at least it's not the worst movie I saw over MLK weekend. Because that honor goes to the subject of my next review, Back in Action. This movie was bad. Like, really bad. And now I feel sorry for Cameron Diaz that this was her first acting performance in 10 years. If you want to see that video and others like it, then consider subscribing to the Isaac Carthy channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all later.